But we're gonna see inside our walls, so that should be fun.
Oh, come see.
Are you kidding me? It's huge.
It's all kind of flaking open.
I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more mold. So we're back, and the power is back. We've got a couple more hours of work to get in today. I think that we're gonna mostly focus on trying to get the lath out of there, and then maybe we'll be able to have a better idea of what it is that we're dealing with. The ceiling, which we had also wanted to bring down, is gonna have to wait for another moment, most likely. Not gonna happen tonight. But we're gonna see inside our walls, so that should be fun.
Oh wow. Gonna crush. There's no more.
Yeah, I'm trying to find mine to show the camera. Also, as predicted, the durable jumpsuits, not so durable. Both Phil and I managed to tear pretty sizable holes in our crotches. These were not meant for people to be doing squats in. Or moving, really, at all.
Any mobility more than
standing and painting, like this. But they're still better than nothing, so we're still wearing them until we get the better ones. Also, please don't tell me to sew my own. Because I don't have the time for that.
Alright. Let's go!
So right away, we're about to answer one of the mysteries that I posed on the channel recently, that being the mystery of why the heck there's this extra layer of boards that seem identical to the exterior sheathing of the house, at least in cross-section, but that appear to be on the interior, which I've seen a lot of old houses in my life and I've never noticed this situation before. And what you can see as we pull off all the lath here is that it's just, we have a whole extra layer of sheathing. So we've got the exterior sheathing, that's what the boards on the outboard side of the studs, that's what the siding is attached to. In the modern day, this would be OSB or plywood. In my house, because it's over 100 years old, this is just really nice, high quality, old growth wooden planks. Pretty classic for a house of this era. But what is significantly less classic is that we have another layer of identical wooden boards on the interior of the wall. And I have heard of a few examples of this in other provinces, but to my knowledge, it's not really common, and everyone that I've talked to that's local to Nova Scotia, it seems that it's equally not very common here, at least in their experience of seeing old houses in the area. Some houses have accordion lath, some houses have seaweed for insulation, and mine just has interior sheathing. And that appears, from our investigation at least, to be the case on every single exterior wall.
Yeah, they report them separately if they're really moldy.
Now, this is obviously not the case on the interior walls. There's no sheathing whatsoever on the interior walls because there's no need. It's just studs and plaster and lath. But I think this is pretty cool, although it is definitely going to make our lives more difficult, as you'll see in future episodes. But it also raises the question of why? Why is this here? This is a giant house. Literally everybody who has seen the house first on video and then in real life has been absolutely gobsmacked at how giant it is. So the size and the grandeur of the house is definitely not being properly communicated, let's say, in video form, but it is huge and there are a lot of exterior walls. So that means that's a lot of lumber. You've literally just doubled the amount of lumber that you're putting on this house in sheathing boards, which makes me wonder, why did they do it? And I have two thoughts. One would be potentially that they wanted to add extra stability and structure, potentially against the wind. Nova Scotia is notoriously windy. We do occasionally get hurricanes. You're constantly hearing me struggle with it in my audio.
Hopefully the wind wasn't so bad that you can't hear any of this audio.
So that's an option, but I don't think it's a particularly strong hypothesis because, I mean, yes, this is an old house, but there were hundreds and thousands of other houses older than this built in the province, in the region, in the neighborhood before my house was built, and many of those houses are still standing to this day. They don't seem to have any issues with withstanding the wind, so it doesn't seem to have been a common line of thought that you'd have needed any extra protection against the wind to keep your house standing. That just didn't seem to be a thing. So a slightly stronger hypothesis that I can come up with was maybe they were just doing it for a second layer of insulation. Insulation against the cold, against the wind, not for structure, but for temperature. That's just my best standing hypothesis. Of course, if you are somebody that happens to have some very niche knowledge on this, even better if it's backed up by actual sources. I would love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to let me know in the comment section. And in the meantime, let's just celebrate that we have solved one mystery of the house, the mystery of the extra layer of sheathing. And while we're on the topic of solving mysteries, what about the mystery of how I am finding time in the middle of a renovation to bake bread from scratch? I'll tell you my secret, I'm not. I'm getting my fresh bread fix from today's sponsor, Wild Grain. They offer monthly bread subscription boxes that support small artisanal bakers and pasta makers around the country, working with them to provide you, the viewer, with a wide and fully customizable selection of bread that is delivered to your door and that can be baked in 25 minutes or less. At this point, I've tried their sourdoughs, their ravioli, their biscuits, their cookies, and of course, oodles and oodles of croissant. And every single item has been delicious, fast, convenient, and did I mention, incredibly delicious. Plus, for every new membership, they donate 2 meals to a food security nonprofit of your choice, so you're not only treating yourself, you're also helping to support a good cause. If you'd like to check them out, you can scan the QR code on screen, or you can follow the link in the description and use my code ShannonMakes to get $30 off your first box. That's their regular boxes, their vegan, their gluten-free, and their new protein boxes. Plus, as always, it comes with free croissant for life.
There's not much over this.
What do you mean?
It starts here,
What starts there?
the blown end.
Oh, okay.
Now, as I went on that whole spiel, some of you are probably also noticing that I'm doing something a little odd here, that I appear to be knocking all of the nails out of the lath, and why on earth would I be bothering to do this? Why not just chuck it all in those garbage bins and take it to the dump or burn it? And this might be a contentious point, but I am currently saving the lath for the moment because I'm contemplating redoing the plaster. I know it's going to be a divisive topic. People either love or hate plaster, and as I've said before, especially in North America, people more often tend to fall on the side of hating plaster, of ripping it out and replacing it, and I will be totally honest. It might be that I try plastering a room or a wall and I decide that it's really not for me, that I hate doing it, or that I'm really bad at it, or that I don't have the time for it. That's definitely an option, and I certainly have a very strong pragmatic side. However, since we're currently only taking down half of one room's worth of lath, I figured I might as well save it for the time being. Knocking the nails out is going to make it easier to store, and also if we decide to burn it later in the end, it is just going to mean far fewer nails that I have to try and pick up out of the ashes. So that is the current game plan. We'll see if it stays the game plan. I would love to try the plaster, but I do also know that it can be very tricky and generally takes a lot of practice, so we'll have to see.
That's outside.
Huh?
That's the cavity. There's a few baby wasp nests.
Oh, yeah?
Like baby and a baby.
Let's see.
So here's the last nest,
Oh yeah.
and at the back is even bigger.
Oh my gosh.
So here's all the mold. Not surprising. And also we found a few wasp nests. Oh,
What?
come see.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? It's huge. You need to. How big? Yeah. You need to show the people. We need it on film for insurance purposes.
So, baby nest? Not so baby nest. It looks very old though.
Let's hope so.
It's all kind of flaking open.
Here's the first part.
Wow.
Come grab it.
Very cool. I mean, because they're dead.
Yeah. And wait, so that was the entrance. And this was in the center of all this, so you can see the original baby nest was kind of hanging there, and then they built a little castle around it.
I'm running out of hands. That's a lot of paper wasp. Good thing they're gone. It all started like this, and then it became this. Huh. Cool, because they're dead and gone. Much better.
So as we expose more and more of the wall, here you can see the system that they use to attach the lath, which, again, because I've not seen interior sheathing before, I personally found kind of interesting. It makes perfect sense, but of course you can't attach the lath directly to the sheathing, and you can't put the plaster directly on the sheathing either. So basically what they had to do was run these vertical furring strips, which are essentially just the same pieces of wood as all the rest of the lath. They're maybe a tiny bit thicker, but they're basically the same thing. And that allowed them to then attach the lath to the furring strips. It keeps the lath off of the larger wooden planks, which then allows the plaster to ooze in between all of those tiny little gaps, making those lovely keys that is so essential for plaster and what is keeps the plaster hanging onto the wall. At least in most cases anyway, if your plaster is nice and healthy and in good shape. I will say that if you have to go about knocking a lot of nails out of wood, whether it's for tiny pieces of lath or for another reason, there are plenty of good reasons one might need to remove nails from pieces of wood. I've been doing it since I was about 8 years old. An excellent system is the one that you see here, doing it over a giant garbage bin. It allows you to sit down, you can work in a pretty ergonomic and comfortable position, you can just lay the wood across the top of the bin and you can knock the nails out and they'll fall right into the garbage, so you don't find yourself trying to round them up from all over the floor when you're done. 10 out of 10, would absolutely recommend this if you have any significant amount of nails to remove in your future as well.
Wow, what just happened? Problem with these is they're all behind the frame.
Yeah, I'll leave them for now.
Yeah, but we can just remove the frame after.
Yeah. thing is, I want to take the time to properly label everything. This is where this went, etc., etc. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna go as a unit, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Like the door frame, remember? He stayed a unit for a while.
Now, unfortunately, this surprise interior sheathing is preventing us, for the moment at least, from finding anything super exciting inside our walls. But don't you worry, I've got you covered because I came across the mother lode of hidden old house discoveries.
Honestly, I'm still trying to process what it was, how old it was, like how significant it was.
So we're going to be spending the next few minutes in St. Louis with Meredith and Zach. So would you guys want to just introduce yourselves?
Yeah, we're old house nerds. We do a lot of like antique hunting and pseudo restoration when we can. Basically, like we're really into history, and Meredith has a very art heavy background. She's like got like classical training in this, and I just dabble.
We live in a American four-square century home. It was built in 1905, and according to our neighbor, our house as well as some of the others in the neighborhood were built from wood left over when they tore down the 1904 World's Fair.
Wow, that's very cool. All right, so if you could set the scene for me, what were you doing that led to this really fun discovery?
I was upstairs crying that the dog had just eaten the Stubbs and Wootton slippers that we had found at the thrift store.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
That was like the greatest find I had gotten in a
Yeah.
long time. And Zach was installing some kind of technology I don't fully understand, so I'll let him.
Coax cable for a Mocha installation. My nerds
Okay.
will understand. There's a situation in our dining room where the coax cable and the telephone line, they all kind of like intersect in this big bundle. It's like between the furnace inlet for the dining room and the, I guess what you call the mud sill for the house. And I was just using my phone to take pictures up there because I couldn't fit my head in there. And then when I got one of the pictures back, I was like, that is weird. It was like a very old looking like cloth sack. I kind of reached my hand up there and I saw and I touched it and it just like kind of like part of it just disintegrated and I was like, oh, all right, there's the cat.
I love it. I love it.
That's that one.
Yeah, Carl's going to be in the picture. I was like, this is obviously super old. So I went upstairs. She told me the story about the shoes. Big bummer. But then I was like, well, if you've seen Constellation, I found this like really old weird sack downstairs that we should probably check out. So we went down there, and honestly, I'm still trying to process what it was, how old it was, like how significant it was.
Drum roll moment for all the viewers. Why don't you describe what you found?
The very first thing I felt was hard and cold and ended up being steel boning of a corset that actually ended up being two corsets that are, for the most part, very much intact.
Stockings.
And stockings.
Stockings / socks.
A large amount of stockings and socks that had been darned.
Like darned.
There and back again.
Beautiful, work on those, but it was fascinating to see.
You did say that you were comfortable showing them on camera.
Sure.
I do want to, before I touch it, address the... there's a common glove, no glove conversation. Because this is so old, because the fabric is so delicate, I'm opting for clean, dry hands without gloves because I need that extra bit of tactile awareness to make sure I'm not unknowingly damaging it. So we do have two corsets.
That's the one with the Ferris straps,
This
right?
has a Ferris strap safety pin to it, so we can't be for sure if it is original to the piece or not.
Yeah, that's right. Not only did they find historical corsets stashed away in a deep dark corner of their house, but they're possibly the exact same style and even brand that I did a huge deep dive on really early in my channel's history.
We have the front. I'm going to, because again, it is pretty sturdy. We can take this apart.
Yeah, it's surprisingly sturdy for...
Yeah, they were built to last. They were everyday working garments, you know?
You can see very sturdy. And if we flip it over here on the side, we have, what does it say? 538 or 530B. Yeah. And then on the inside, we have a nice banding here.
Yeah, it's your waist stay. Mm-hmm. Keep it from stretching out.
It also has the strap on both sides, where we have 538 again. And as I mentioned, this is the one that has a garter safety pin to it. And this says Ferris.
It's got some steel boning. Does it also have some cording in there? Which would just be like, thin fabric cords instead of steel boning.
I want to say that the only part that has steel is the busk.
And the eyelets.
That's very cool. That's super classic from what you would see from either a sports corset or, basically the classic Ferris Good Sense waist was known for having essentially no steel boning. It was all cording, which would allow you to ride your bicycle and do sports as a, proper woman.
This looks quite small. I know people in general were much smaller back in the day. But from a waist standpoint, if we're looking at the waist stays, it's 11 inches.
We actually know, we have a good idea of who it belonged to. In 1919, they had I guess she would have been 14 at the time, a daughter, Maud. And I think based on the other contents of the sack, there was like a Christmas tag to mention the name Sadie. And Sadie was her mother. I would imagine this belonged to them.
So we've got potentially Maud's corset. And what about this other one?
And this is the back. We have the lacing. We have all 4 garters that appear to be original. These have a decorative. There's not a brand.
I believe they're
but I don't know if you can see this.
This is American Girl Style 96 for all those that keep track of the corset styles.
Well, and it was pretty cool because that was the one that I was able to find. The advertisement for the exact one, which is like, what are the odds?
So close by in St. Louis, less than a 20-minute streetcar ride at the time. Could have very well been bought from that store around that time.
This is my favorite part that we found later. It has a sweet little bow.
Oh, that's very cute.
The steel parts of it are still very much intact and very much still wrapped in the fabric like that they were, put in.
It survived the test of time a bit better.
I guess, was like a really great draft block because nobody took it down. But yeah, it definitely was in a little bit better shape.
So what is your plan going forward with these?
Yeah, so I have 2 archaeology contacts that I'm going to reach out to. I also have a textile professor that I worked under in college that I think would be a good place to start as well. A lot of people are calling for us to donate them. I do want other people to get to see it, but I want to keep it with the house.
Yeah, that's our ultimate idea, is that we want to do the closest thing possible to putting it back where we found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so not any form of like even displaying it necessarily in your house, or
I would love to have it
maybe
displayed,
something like that,
but properly.
Yeah.
In a non-damaging archival way. It just doesn't feel right to separate it.
Mm-hmm. I do know and have been in contact with a descendant of the people that lived here.
Okay.
And I was going to ask her if maybe she wanted to come take a look at it, or if she had any additional context on it. Like that might be something we explore further on the Substack. But yeah, I think long term, we would hate for it to be separated from the house.
And you kind of left us with a perfect segue there, which is how can people find you if they want to follow your old house journey? Because we've got a lot of old house nerds here.
The main place we're keeping track of all this is on Substack. Our handle on Substack is Junkwitch, and the W is 2 capital V's. We've taken a lot of pictures, and we're just trying to kind of like arrange them in the most logical way. And also, we're kind of going slow because we don't want to ruin anything. We're hoping to maybe expand into other platforms as the interest grows, but that's our main channel.
Well, get out of that box.
I think you might need to put a photo of Carl up on the Substack as well for the house.
Carl would love to be involved in any way. If Carl is anything, it's involved. So.
So in the end, do you think this discovery makes up for the lost slippers?
Oh, 1,000-fold.
Well, I look so forward to following the rest of your journey on Substack, and thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with me and share your story with all my viewers.
Thank you again so much for having us.
So if you want more information on the garments in question, I'll link my sports corset series down below. Stylistically, it's a bit old, but it's still very good information. Plus, it does culminate in me making my own sports corset and testing it out in some very interesting circumstances. I've also got Meredith and Zach's Substack linked down in the description too, so be sure to check them out if you want to follow their old house journey. And now, I think we can bop back to Nova Scotia. All right, so I hope you can hear me. We've gotten all of the lath off the wall except for the little bit that is tucked under the molding for the window. So we have to take off the trim for the window before we can get at the rest of the lath, and then we're gonna have to dig even further because we have, opened lots of cans of worms. So that's gonna all wait for tomorrow. I want to be able to label all of the parts of the window trim very carefully so we can get it back in place exactly how it should be. But yeah, so Phil's got a hammer. He's just gonna help me to denail the last little bits of lath. That's all we're gonna finish up for tonight, and I'll catch you tomorrow for a fun little recap. Oh hey, look, it matches. That's gonna be a great thumbnail. Hell yeah. Anyway, catch you tomorrow for a little recap where we are, what we're gonna do next, because woohoo, we are only just getting started. Bye.
Ceiling's pretty good.
Yeah, ceiling's great.
First things first, let's start with this window frame here. Wow, how can I? One day I will learn how to do this. Ooh, there we go.